I'm finally making a video on the OLLO Audio X1 headphones that I've been working with for the past couple of months. It was about time because I've been hearing so many good things about the OLLO Audio headphones that it caught my attention, and I was always a bit curious and intrigued on how it was to mix music with these headphones. And I also noticed that there's a good amount of music producers and mixing engineers that enjoy working with these headphones. Like for example, Jakir King, that is an endorser of the X1 model, and also my good friend and music producer Tokyo Spears, who was recently on my YouTube channel, is also a huge fan of the X1 headphones. So I took the time to try them out myself, mixed a couple of songs with them, and now's the time for me to share my thoughts with you and my take on if the X1 headphones are good enough to mix music with. And at the same time, why not check if they stand against the classic Sennheiser 650s and also one of my favorite mixing headphones, the Audeze's MM500s. Let's find out. Quick disclaimer, OLLO Audio sent me these X1 headphones for me to try out, and I went forward and made this video. Now, all opinions are mine like they should be, and the rest is up to you. All right, so now if we take a closer look at the X1 headphones, first, they are open back headphones. They have dynamic drivers that are angled just a bit, which gives you a more natural soundscape when it comes to the stereo image of the headphones. As far as the impedance goes, we're talking about 32 ohms. Okay, so that means you can use them on pretty much everything, whether it's a dedicated headphone amp like I do on my side, or the headphone amp you have straight from your sound interface, and you can even use them straight from your laptop's headphone outputs, which can be practical if you're on the go. So they're gonna give you lots of power to do so. Now, the way I work on my side, I like to mix on headphones using a dedicated headphone amp, but this is a topic for another video. Now, as far as the design goes, honestly, I really like that design. It's classy, but at the same time, simple, not bulky, very comfortable to wear. And I really like that classy walnut wood look we have here on the cups. It does add to the look of the headphones. Their ear pads are made of memory foam, which is super comfortable. So I can literally wear them for several hours when mixing music. Honestly, they are that comfortable and not very heavy. I think we're talking about like 390 grams, which is pretty light for this type of headphone. Honestly, good looking pair of headphones. Also, look at that steel frame we have on top. It actually adds to the solid build we have with these headphones. And look at the headband, fully adjustable just by wearing the headphones. And that's it. Again, comfort is on the menu for this one. Now it has a removable Y cable, and they don't do mass production. All headphones are hand-built in Slovenia. And the cool thing is that the main parts are all modular, meaning that if you need at some point to change the drivers or the ear pads or even the headband, you can. You just order the parts and they're going to be sent to you and you can easily replace them. So this is pretty nice. Now, if you look on the website, at this point in time, for pre-orders, we're looking at batch number 36. Like I said, they don't do mass production. So since everything is hand-built, they do them by batches. Okay, so you need to pre-order them before they get sent to you. And they go out at $526 US at this point in time. The US price will depend on the exchange rate with the euro. Okay, so just take note of that. So that price can vary just a bit. 5 years limited warranty plus a 90-day trial period, which is also pretty cool. And I also got a carry-on case for the X1 headphones. And look at that. That looks pretty cool. Very nice case, not heavy and very easy to carry around. So that can be very useful. Now, to be honest with you, the only thing I'm not crazy about, and this is really not a big thing, it's just me kind of being a princess here, is the red cable. I don't think the red cable here looks very good on these good looking headphones. But that's just me. Now, as far as the sound goes, in general, it's a bit more on the linear, transparent side. Basically neutral across the frequency range more than anything else. So they are not hyped at all, which is good for mixing. Okay, they are designed for mixing music. Okay, so that makes sense that they sound neutral. So you'll be able to hear everything you need from the bass to the mid-range to the highs when mixing your music. So the full frequency range is well represented without any hype. Okay, so for the bass response, you won't have any problems there. You have lots of detail and, you know, a nice punchy bass, okay, with these headphones. But again, not hyped. As far as the mid-range goes, we're talking about a clean, honest mid-range. And I kind of like that. Not smooth, pretty flat and neutral, but not aggressive, okay, which is great for mixing music, because let's face it, the mid-range is quite important when mixing. When we look at the highs, honestly, there's not a lot to say here. It's pretty linear, neutral, flat, call it whatever you want. No cutoff, no hype, very neutral. I like it. And also a very nice separation from the bass frequencies from the rest of the frequency range, which is quite nice. For the rest, we have nice transient response, fast enough to hear all compression moves, EQ tweaks, reverb tails, and as far as the soundstage goes, a very nice natural stereo image and also a very nice depth. So like I said at the beginning of the video, I took the time to try them out myself. I mixed a couple of songs solely using the X1 headphones. And when I checked my mixes on my studio monitors, my other mixing headphones, and also on my home system, I'm going to say that the translation turned out to be very good. And that's an important thing on mixing on headphones. You know, you need to make sure that they translate well. And, you know, they do the job pretty well on that side. Now, they are designed for mixing music and, you know, you can tell. Now, the way they calibrate their headphones, you know, they do like that general calibration on all their headphones that is pretty precise, you know, for what they are aiming as a more neutral sound. But on top of that, they have an extra layer of calibration for every individual headphone, meaning that when you purchase a pair of X1 headphones, you will get this little box, okay, which is going to include this card right here, okay, and at the back of the card, which I'm not going to show you, there's the serial number and a QR code you're going to use and create your account on the OLLO Audio website, and you'll be able to download a specific calibration file to add that extra calibration layer on your specific headphones, okay? So I did that on my side, so I downloaded that little XPS file, which is a text file, and from that point, I can actually use any EQ plugins I want, or if you have like a dedicated DSP EQ on your sound interface, you can actually use these EQ values on your DSP sound interface EQ, okay? Now, there's also a plugin included when you get the X1 headphones that is powered and made by Realphones, and it's called the USC II calibration plugin. And again, it's included when you get the X1 headphones. And this is what I use on my side to import that calibration file I downloaded with my headphones. And this is how it looks like. Okay, so that is my extra layer of fine-tuning calibration for my headphones. On top of that, I can use a flat frequency response, also a spatial response, good for Atmos mixing, and the Harman curve that I'm a fan of. And this is exactly how I use them. I have my calibration EQ added, and on top of that, I use the Harman curve. And you can balance that up, you know, with the amount of emulation you want to apply on your curve, and also the tilt that you can tweak around, okay? So this is a way I can EQ my headphones to my taste. And using the Harman curve is something I do on all my mixing headphones. I actually made a full video talking about that. I'm going to leave the link down below. All right, so if I compare the classic Sennheiser HD 650s with the X1 headphones, I'm not going to go and make a full comparison, but let's do it quick but efficient, all right? First, the open back design. Sounds very open, a bit more open than what I get with the X1s. Even if they are open back headphones, they do sound a bit more isolated, okay? Now, as far as the sound goes, top end, high frequencies on the HD 650s sound smoother compared to the X1s, okay? Which the highs sound a bit more neutral. The mid-range sounds good, but softer, okay? I kind of like the mid-range side on the X1, more clear, more neutral, revealing, okay? So this is something I like a lot on the X1 side. When it comes to the Soundstage, again, I have like way better stereo image, more natural on the X1 compared to the HD 650s. These are still a good pair of mixing headphones, but for my taste, I prefer the X1 headphones. And for the price, they are both in the same price range. Okay, now the Audeze's MM500. Now, these are one of my favorite mixing headphones. I've been working with those for the past couple of years, and I really like them. So if I do a quick comparison, even if I don't think it's a fair comparison, due to the fact that they don't have the same driver design, the X1 has dynamic drivers and the MM500 planar magnetic drivers, which by design are not going to sound the same, all right? But still, let's have a bit of fun. So, when it comes to the openness of the headphones, the MM500 sound very open compared to the X1, even more open than the HD 650s. So that's pretty nice. As far as the sound goes, the X1s have a nice stereo image, very natural, like if I was mixing in front of near-field monitors. On the MM500 side, we're talking about a bigger soundstage in general, wider stereo image, and a bit more depth also. The X1s have very nice detail, no problem with that. The MM500, we're talking about micro detail. So very accurate, nice translation. And same for the X1s, they do translate very well. And when it comes to the frequency response, they sound very good in general, but they do focus a lot on the mid-range. So I get a more upfront mid-range in general with the MM500 compared to the X1s that are more, again, more clear, neutral, revealing at the same time, and not harsh, okay? And this is something that I like on the X1 side. And for the transient response, faster on the MM500, but still pretty good on the X1 side. So in general, I get a bit more in a way, you know, with the MM500, but again, 3 times the price of the X1 headphones, okay? So a difference is expected. So my verdict, I like them. I personally do prefer mixing music using planar magnetic headphones, but I had a good experience mixing with them. I actually think they're one of the best, if not the best, dynamic type headphones I've mixed with so far. So for the price, I do recommend them. I'm actually going to keep them around, add them up to the list of mixing headphones I work with, especially if I'm out of the studio, on the road. Yeah, these guys are going to follow me around for several reasons. But what about you? Would you mix a full song using headphones, like from start to finish? Or do you use headphones to mix music at the moment? Let me know down below. I'm also going to give you the link to these headphones if you want to check them out. Share, like, subscribe, all that nice stuff. And until next time, take care and see you.